This show may contain adult language and themes. Listener discretion is advised. With that out of the way, let's start the show. You're listening to the Murder is My Sign podcast, the true crime astrology podcast, and I'm your host, Jordy Death, here to let your way through the true crime astrology storm. And given the music, that was the intro instead of my usual stuff. You know that this is the end of the month side slice episode. And I kind of was hemming and hawing and not really knowing what I was going to do for this side slice. Originally in the month on Valentine's Day, which happened to fall on a Friday when I usually release episodes, I was going to do like a special side slice on the Valentine's Day massacre, and then I decided against it because I was like in the height of the Ken and Barbie killers, and then I thought like, well, maybe I can just do this at the end of the month. And then, well, we had a pretty big event happen here in Milwaukee on February 26th, and I figured that this would take the precedent of our side slice, and hopefully I won't go off on too many tangents, and I don't want to make this like super political, but obviously when you're talking about either school shootings or workplace shootings and you're having to talk with gun control and things like that, it does kind of get political, and people have very strong opinions on the matter. For those of you who may not know, I've lived in Milwaukee for about 5 years now, and my mom moved down to Milwaukee a couple years ago and literally lives like a block away from me. So it's really, really nice to have her so close to me. So like, even though Stevens Point's like my hometown, that's where I grew up, Milwaukee, for most part, is just where I call home. But yeah, so on February 26th, there was a workplace shooting at MolsonCoors Brewery, which was formerly known as the Miller Brewery. Back in 2015, I believe, Miller Coors was bought out by MolsonCoors, and then they had a rebranding in 2019 where they're now called MolsonCoors. For those of you who may not also know, Milwaukee is like brew city. We have a lot of beers that began here back in the day, Pabst Blue Ribbon, Litz, Blatz, Miller. We're a very beer heavy, beer barons, all hailed basically from Milwaukee. Like, if you go to Forest Home Cemetery, there is a small section there called the Beer Barons. I'll take like a small walking tour, and you have like Schlitz and Blaps, and I believe Paps are also buried there. Really, really cool if you're ever in the area and you want to get like a piece of rich Milwaukee history, and you don't mind cemeteries. Highly recommend checking out Forest Home. So on Wednesday, February 26th at 2:08 p.m., the Milwaukee City Police received a call of a shooting that was happening at the MolsonCoors Brewery. Now, when the report originally came out and the media began covering this, originally the report was saying that it was 7 victims and that it was a former employee who was doing the shooting. Now it's been a couple of days. The names have been released. More information is coming forward. And what I would really like to do is just kind of read this Milwaukee Journal report that they did, and this came out yesterday. The title is Reports Emerge of Friction Between Miller Shooter Anthony Farrell and Other MolsonCoors Workers. So I'll kind of paraphrase, but hit some key points here. So the man who opened fire at MolsonCoors plant Wednesday, killing 5 co-workers and himself, had been involved in a long-running dispute with a co-worker that boiled over before he came back with 2 guns and started shooting, according to law enforcement and brewery sources. Anthony N. Farrell, 51, had worked as an electrician for more than 20 years, about 17 of them at MolsonCoors, according to multiple sources and online employment records. Police confirmed he was the shooter at a Thursday afternoon news conference. A co-worker who asked not to be identified for fear of being disciplined said Farrell believed he was being discriminated against because he was African American and that he frequently argued with at least one of the victims. The co-worker said Farrell often watched movies on his phone during the day, which the other man took issue with, and the two accused each other of going into each other's offices and stealing tools or tampering with computer equipment. Law enforcement officials said Thursday that no motive had been determined. Asked at the news conference whether racial tension was a factor in the shooting, Mayor Tom Barrett declined to comment on Farrell's motives. Right now, there is an investigation going on, and I think it's premature to speculate on anything, Barrett said. I think this is the time to be there to grieve and to support the families. About a year ago, the co-worker said Farrell started saying he believed brewery workers were coming into his home, bugging his computer and moving chairs around. Are you serious, Anthony? What? We all kind of joked about it, saying he should maybe get himself an aluminum hat. Things just started getting weird, but he was dead serious about it, the coworker said. But another coworker, Keith Giese, said Farrell seemed fine when he saw him earlier this week. I never had a clue. I talked to him a couple of days ago and he seemed to be fine to me, Giese said. I had no idea that there was a problem, that somebody could snap like that. The 5 victims were identified Thursday as Dale Hudson, 60, of Waukesha, an electrician with Milwaukee Brewery since 2008. Gennady Jean Levitch, 61, of MacLeod, a powerhouse operator with the brewery since 2008. Jesus Val Jr., 33, of Milwaukee, a powerhouse operator with Milwaukee Brewery since 2014. Dana Walk, 54, of Delafield, a machinist with the brewery since 2004. Trevor Wetzlier, 33, of Milwaukee, a powerhouse operator with the brewery since 2018. As word spread Thursday that Farrell was the shooter, co-workers and neighbors uniformly expressed shock. And it is very shocking. I do apologize for it, because I know I probably mispronounced some of the names, unfortunately. And I try very, very hard to do my best, but this is my first cold read-through of this article. I'm not going to read the whole article because it goes on to cover quite a bit, but it's very good. It goes on to say that Farrell, was a very good electrician. He was in the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers in Milwaukee. He also served in the U.S. Coast Guard from 1987 to 1991, was honorably discharged, and received Milwaukee County Veteran Services, and he used a VA loan to buy a house over in the West Potomac Avenue area, where he and his wife and family lived since 2004. He was also an avid gun collector and had suffered a long history of back pain, made worse when he was in a car accident in 2009 and 2010. Also, he had to manage with opioids. And so another, I think, critical part, because I think that this obviously could have a lot to do with, him, that he was a co-plaintiff with Miller Coors health benefits program in a 2015 lawsuit in connection with the second wreck. The report filed as evidence in that suit, written by Glendale physician Jeffrey Gorlick, stated Ferris's back problem started about 25 years earlier. He would use Vicodin, an opioid-based painkiller, and cyclobenzaprine, a muscle relaxant, when lower back pain flared up, Gorlick wrote. And so the case was eventually thrown out, I guess. But it sounds like Anthony Farrell was a very, very hardworking man. He would work more than 50 hours a week, and then he would basically be bedridden on the weekends to recover. And it really kind of prevented him from, living a fulfilling life. And I mean, when you work 50 hours a week, that's pretty crazy. Very scary situation, especially, as a civilian and you have no idea what's going on. No one in the general public was hurt in this shooting. The 5 people I had mentioned all worked at MolsonCoors, including the shooter. The investigation's still going on. I don't know if funeral services have been announced yet for any of the victims. The entire city of Milwaukee is really hurting right now, and there's a lot of hashtag Milwaukee Strong, hashtag Miller Strong, and I think that we just need to come together, call for change. I mean, thoughts and prayers are only going to get you so far. It really is going to just come down to action, guys, and I think that's going to start with paying attention to what's happening around you, becoming active, and voting. Even though it doesn't seem like it, we are still very much a democracy. So, anywho, my heart definitely goes out to those who lost their lives on Wednesday. And then also with the community of Milwaukee, city of Milwaukee, thank you guys so much for listening. This is the last episode for February, and next month, it's really crazy to me that March starts on Sunday, but March we will be covering the Hillside Stranglers, and so yeah, we'll be getting back into the swing of things that way. So yeah, thank you guys so much for listening. Like, subscribe, share, whatever you want to do. You can find Murder Is My Sign anywhere you get your podcasts. You can follow me on Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, all at Jordy Death. That's Jordy Death. You can also email the show directly at murderismysign, podcast@gmail.com. If you want to join the Boneyard and support the show, God, we'd love to have you there. You can do that at patreon.com/murderismysign. Otherwise, yeah, I will catch you guys next Friday with part 1 of the Hillside Strangler. Please, please, please take care of yourself, guys, and take care of one another. I really, really mean that. And until next time, rest in peace.